Hello and welcome to another modelling video. Today I'm going to share the secret to texturing plastic, which I have done to my Zaku 2 kit, which was entered in the Vegeta 8259 competition and received an honourable mention because of it. Not much of a secret, so let's check it out. When I think about Xeon heat weapons, I imagine that there's a heat filament inside the actual object which turns the entire metal to an almost melting effect which can cut through other metal. And I imagine this would actually warp and distort the blade, which will require regular sharpening. So I'm going to try to replicate this effect. First, I'll sharpen the blade using a file, and followed by holding the actual blade over a heated surface and distorting its appearance. Be extremely careful when literally playing with fire. To keep it steady, I'm using this extremely ugly candle I found. And unlike what I did, hold it quite far away from the flame and you'll see it slowly but surely curl, particularly if you're holding it on a particular angle. Styrene is easily manipulated from solvents or heat, so if you royally screw it up and destroy the hawk, there's not much you can do about it besides seeking a alternative replacement. So extreme care. And if you're unsure, cut off a bit of sprue and practice with that before melting the proper piece. After the plastic is hardened and you're happy with the effect, have a little fun by adding a few splits or slits or slightly resharpening it for a slight edge to get an effect that you're happy with and that looks good in scale. At this stage, go all out and have fun. I stole this technique from a Hobby Japan or a Dengeki Hobby a little while ago. I believe it's an older edition, and discovered that Tamiya Basic type putty is soluble in lacquer thinner, thus what it's based in and how it sets on styrene so well. So the plans this time is to thin down the putty into a consistency of a thick paint and to stipple it on to create the lumpy texture of cast iron metal. This technique's a no-brainer and there's very little chance of anything actually going wrong, so definitely give this a go. Thin down a tiny bit of putty, slap it on, get as thick and ugly as looking as you humanly can, and once fully hardened, which will take about a day or so, have fun dry brushing and painting and getting all that lovely detail out. Don't forget to clean your paintbrushes thoroughly, as if it dries they will be dead. A good experiment would be to apply multiple layers between drying times for maximum depth and effect. Try that one out. This technique requires the most imagination, as you're deciding what is stressing or damaging the metal, be it impact crashes from landing off a far distance and hitting the ground, to crashing in awkward parts that would split the metal in or scratch the metal in various different ways and terrains. You could use any sort of tool you got disposal of and give it an absolute go, you know, just whack it out and do what you think's realistic looking and what makes you happy. The most fun with this technique is after you primed and painted your base colours, you're going to have a lot of substance to drag your brush along the surface if you're dry brushing, pigment weathering or inking. Whatever damage you occur on the plastic will show as bright as day and looks a lot more realistic than your traditional tutorials of mass bullet holes and beam saber strikes. First, I'm using an extremely coarse sandpaper to scratch the hell out of the surface of the plastic, followed by an engraving tool and carving deep lines in the edges and into the plastic. A scalpel is helpful in cutting out little corners and removing bits of metal that may bash in or tear or snap off. In the next technique, I've also borrowed this from a Dengeki hobby, though the first part is a bit of my idea. Get your standard strength plastic cement, whatever you use to glue. The brush on type's the absolute best for this technique, and coat the entire piece of that plastic or outer surface plastic with the cement and brush quite coarsely with a toothbrush to mix in all the scratch plastic and get a more weathered and dulled down version. It's best to mount your pieces on pegs if you were like painting or airbrushing, so you're not handling the pieces. If you were handling the cement coated pieces and if you put your finger in it, you'll be left with a fingerprint, or you might drown out or damage some detail. Also, if you have an area that does have a mass amount of detail, you probably don't want to scrub too much with the brush in that particular area, though still want to add a little bit of cement just to slightly distort it. There's no wrong way about going with this technique. I recommend that you just go out and experiment or do anything that comes out to mind or whatever your imagination can muster. Masking off some pieces to make it look like a new panel of metal's been placed, or cutting or decorating certain areas to give a certain amount of character or a personal feel to your kit is a great idea. I added a few bits of damage around the head because I believe that's where the eyes are attracted to, and just do whatever fancies you and whatever way you would like to personalize your kit. I hope this video has inspired you guys to try something new with your kit, particularly the beginners. Number one word with this particular tutorial is have fun. Nothing serious about this. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time.